It's a triple option. We are back with our final installment. Hold back your tears if you can of our position preview series. And in my opinion, boys, we saved the best for last. Maybe not the best unit on the team, but it could be. It's 100% for me the most interesting unit on the entire football team. This is what my eyes have been on the entire practice session. What are they going to do here in the secondary? Well, we're going to do our best to try and tell you. Adam and Kevin, first, before we wrap into this this Rubik's cube of personnel decisions that is the secondary, say what's up to the people.
What's up, people?
Hola, ¿cómo estás, people?
Oh, bilingual Adam. Nice. I'm glad to see you there. So compadres. Before that, Patreon. Go subscribe. Buy Kevin's merch. Do it so you can look cool on YouTube. Hit the subscription. Ding. Turn them on. Kevin last year, the secondary outside of Asante Samuel Jr. was abysmal, and it was surprisingly abysmal. I did not think that people expected it to play as bad as they did, especially with this is a position that even through Florida State's recent doldrums has recruited at a consistently high level throughout the entire time. I don't know how. I'm guessing it's because of Derwin James and Jalen Ramsey. Those are my only things that I can think of.
Well, South Florida's just overflowing with.
Yeah, that's true. And also the amount of people to choose from. Kevin, ideally, what are these positions supposed to do in Adam Fuller's defense, and what didn't they do last year?
All right, so I'm going to start with safeties because that's the first place you should always look when you're looking at a defense. Unfortunately, the camera angles cut them off more often than not. So the strong safety here is often called the buck safety, and he is kind of – they call him a hybrid safety, but in reality he's a pretty traditional strong safety. He's going to come down into the box often and make an impact. He's a guy that if you're rolling to cover three, he's going to be the first one to come up. The free safety is going to be more of your traditional deep safety, someone that is quick enough to patrol the field.
Center fielder type is what is the cliche that everybody likes to say.
Right, but your buck is someone that you're not afraid to go into the box. Oftentimes the buck and the stud, which we talked about before, are kind of interchangeable body types. If anything, the buck is often has more of an impact in the box than even the stud. So the boundary corner is kind of the same story. So the boundary corner here is going to be bigger than your field corner. He's going to be more likely to be put into a situation where he has to enter the box. So if you watched our practice preview, you saw a situation where this wide receiver was on the line of scrimmage in in a tight formation. That often forces this corner to enter the box. So it's someone that you need to be comfortable with having to make a play in the box, make a tackle, and plug a gap. So the free safety is your center fielder type, and the field corner is often the corner you feel most comfortable with being in space, obviously as someone who is almost exclusively going to be to the wide side of the field.
Nice. Where was and I said it the last time, it is like an Achilles with 8 legs, right? Like an Achilles spider, because there was Achilles heels all throughout the entire defense. In the secondary, what was the issue last year?
Safety play.
Yeah.
Okay. It was really bad last year, especially when Renardo Green. I mean, you lost Renardo Green, you lost Travis J early. They didn't know where they were supposed to fit. In the run game, a lot of times running the alley was just a mess, and they let the ball get outside of them, and then playing the ball down the field became an issue also. That really is kind of where it started and stopped for me on the defensive side. Safety play was just really bad and need to be cleaned up this year.
And Kevin, the non-Asante Samuel Jr. cornerback, did Asante play the field or the boundary last year?
So at the beginning of the year, Asante played the field because that's where he is a natural fit. And the thing with Fuller's defense and how he likes to run it, he's going to put this boundary corner on an island a lot. And so they had Asante to the field, and they didn't have an answer at the boundary corner. Akeem Dent
That's what I remember.
struggled. Jerian Jones struggled. And so to me, that was the biggest hole in the secondary was one, the fact that position struggled, the boundary corner, there was no answer. They eventually ended up putting Samuel over there as kind of a Band-Aid to see if that could fix some stuff, and I think it helped a little bit. But even he's not a fit for that position. You're just kind of putting a Band-Aid on it. And then without a true boundary shutdown corner, his defense just can't function as well as it should. And arguably he could have made adjustments, but in my opinion, what he said was, this is our defense. This is how we're going to run it. This is how we're going to run it in the future when we get these boundary corners that I know we can get pretty easily out of South Florida.
Correct.
And so we're not going to change things up just for this weird COVID year zero. We're just gonna run with it.
We're gonna install the system
and put
get our brains bashed
to.
in
Yes.
and deal with it. I get it, dude. It was a lost year. Let's start at the field corner position. Like we said, I want to emphasize this again. We have no real idea of who the starting five are going to be, what the depth chart is going to be. There's so many talented athletes on this side of the ball, some that are new, some that are proven, some that are transfers, some that are unproven that have been kind of a disappointment up to this point in their career. There's so many options to where it's like the defense is an amorphous blob at this point. It's just like a malleable piece of clay, and we're going to know what the shape is eventually. Right now, we don't have any idea, so this is just our best approximation. Wanted to put that disclaimer out there. Also wanted to use some bigger words, so I seem smarter than I am. All right, Jarvis Brownlee. We think right now he's the best bet to take the start at the field corner. I like him. A lot of other people, notably Bud Elliott, really liked him coming out of school. Adam, why do you like him, and if so, why?
Yeah, shout out Bud Elliott. Long arms. I mean, he's got that length that you really want. He can use those arms and that reach to get into a receiver's body and really just jam the lights out of them. And then it also is when very useful when you're playing the ball down the field. Played the nickel last year mostly, and then played a little bit of outside corner as injuries piled up. I'm not sure. They like him in the nickel. I don't think he's a great nickel fit personally, but I think
why is that?
That's why he played a lot last year too.
Yeah, it is. I just don't think he transitions as well out of that nickel slot. I think he's better outside because I think he can use that jam technique a little bit more and be more physical with guys. When you're lined up in the nickel, you're not going to be able to jam guys quite as much because they're off the ball and they can move them around.
Gotcha.
Yeah, to go back, you can see him jamming here. This is a great. The reason I chose this is it might look unspectacular, but I mean you see that length. You see, so he's here, and he just shuts this play down. There's
very
no
physical, right? Very physical.
He eliminates the timing of this play, and that's why the ball's overthrown. That's what he does well. I mean, he's a physical corner. Uses his length, his reach, to get into your chest and just kind of ruin timing of a play. But then down the field, I mean, he runs well. He does all the things you want. He gets in phase well. He does all the things you want a defensive back to do. He's also physical against the run. So, I mean, I think he's one of your top corners, one of your top guys returning. There's plenty of reasons to think he's going to have a good year. He could be a boundary corner. He could be a field corner. We're going to find out. We can't.
Could be a stud.
I mean, we also can't. Yeah, it could be a stud. I mean, he could line up in the stud some too. We're going to see where he lines up as the year goes or as the fall goes on here.
Interchangeability. It's the name of the game. Let's talk about one of the transfers we got here. This is the UCF transfer, Brandon Moore, teammates with Mackenzie Milton. Very productive corner, a guy that was thought to have a future in the pros, might still coming off an injury though, I believe, right, Adam? Does that give you any cause for concern?
Bad knee injury from a couple of years ago,
right.
Supposedly at 100%, but you know how those things are. I mean, bad knee injuries can take speed away, can take some of that twitch and explosiveness away. So we're going to find out where he's at. Not a guy who's been talked about a lot here in
very quiet,
yep, very quiet,
which could be good or bad. You
can say the same thing for Jarvis Brownlee. Not a guy whose name's been brought up quite a bit in preseason, but that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. He's a guy they're gonna play. They're gonna get out there. He's going to get his reps. Again, could play in the field, could play in the boundary. Really long, another really long corner. You kind of get an idea of what they're starting to look for here. Guys that have that reach, guys that can jam and play physical at the line of scrimmage.
Then Hunter Washington, this is the young player from Texas. This is a guy that Clemson actually tried to make a late recruiting push on. Highly talented kid. Some situational snaps this year, you think?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think they're going to play as many of these guys as they can that they feel like they can rely on. Had a pick six in the scrimmage yesterday, or well, I guess what was Saturday, whenever the scrimmage occurred,
whenever you're watching the video.
Yeah, whenever this is going to air. So Saturday in their first scrimmage.
Taking some of the behind-the-scenes magic away there.
Yeah, once again, just showing you guys how the sauce is made.
He had a pick six. Another fluid, long kid that, again, you kind of see what they're looking for here. They're looking for that length so they can jam you at the line of scrimmage.
Yep, one of their best prospects. I think probably actually their highest-rated prospect of the entire class.
With
very
Dustin
talented.
Hill not in, yes.
Didn't mean to bring that up. Yeah, very good player. Going to be a staple of the Florida State backfield for years to come. Let's move on to the next position. That is the boundary corner. Once again, the short side of the field. And here you guys will notice a lot of transfers. Adam Fuller, I tell you what, they went full bore on defensive transfers, and they needed to. And this kid, Miko Dotson, was, I think, the interception leader. What school did he come from again?
Oh, sugar. He wasn't UCF.
Is he Florida Atlantic?
He was one of those Florida schools. I don't remember off the top of my head right now. I'm sorry, Trey. That's 2 years ago. 2 years ago.
He got a ton of interceptions. We expected him to play a lot last year. Didn't fight injuries and things like that. This guy's a solid player. He's the veteran of the defense. He's going to get a lot of playing time. The boundary corner, like we said, is just absolutely abysmal last year. And when Dotson was in there, as you can see right there, there was some competency. So I think another year from him, rust knocked off. He's going to be a very solid member of this core.
So I have a theory. That they're going away from the field in the boundary corner and they're going left and right. Noticed it in the spring.
Okay.
Noticed it in the spring. Want to see if they continue it into the fall. Not saying that that's a definite. Just keeping an eye on it as we get into games in that first Notre Dame game. Dotson's a good cover corner. I mean, that's his skill. He's a good mirror guy. Can kind of play that boundary. Can take a team's number one receiver away. You see in there, guy makes a great catch on him. Lacks some of the length, some of the height that you're looking for, but plays the ball really well. Really fluid in his hips and up through his ankles and all those great things that you want to talk about technically. Good. He's just a good, solid football player.
Good instincts, good fundamentals. And there is, I mean, like you said, some athletic concerns, but it's still able to parlay that into a lot of reception. So very opportunistic, I guess, which is I'm good with that. I'm good with that as a defense back. Transfer from FAU. Confirmed via the Googler. Another transfer from a couple years ago, Jerian Jones. Guy came with Mississippi State in the old Fabian Lovett package deal. A kid that's very talented yet inconsistent. I would still say, even with his age, I still played below the level that we expected from him last year, because you can see it when you look at the kid's body type that there's a solid player lurking there. Adam, do you think that the light turns on for Jerian here this year?
Another kid that I think needs to toughen up a little bit. They talked about he played hurt last year, and I think that's true, and you can kind of see it as he's running around compared to when he was at Mississippi State. But the knock on him was kind of his toughness coming out of Mississippi State, and we talked about that in our scouting report when he did commit to Florida State to come here. You just want to see him be more physical.
It's a good play right there.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got great ball skills, probably the best athlete, I think, that they got in the secondary at the corner, specifically at the corner position.
Okay. That's high praise, though, still, with the guys we got there.
I think he runs well. I think he plays the ball well. Height, speed, jumping, and all that nonsense. I'd like to see him be a little bit tougher. I'd like to see him be able to be more physical at the point in some man press coverage stuff. If he can do that, I think the sky's the limit. We're going to see if he can develop that into his game. He's been out through fall camp with an injury. Hopefully they get him back sometime soon.
Yeah, I definitely. You don't want to see a guy like that, an athlete like that, get lost in the shuffle. Speaking of athletes who got lost in the shuffle, Demori Tate, extremely highly rated recruit, extremely impressive film. Did not play last year for, I don't even know why, to be quite honest with you.
Academic reasons.
Academic.
He was an academic
fantastic. That's fun. Okay. So didn't play last year because of academic reasons. A kid who was highly rated, but there were question marks about his level of competition in high school, played against some bad teams, or he was on a bad team. A kid looks like a freak. Odell Hagens loved him. Adam, do we see a lot from Demori this year? Because this kid, when he signed with Florida State, it was a big damn deal.
Yeah, it
Huge deal.
Yeah, we're gonna see. I mean, he's
a little hesitation there. I detected that in your voice.
I think that he's still a guy that needs more time developing, because I do think he came in behind, missed this spring. His name seems to be coming up a little bit more as fall camp's going on.
It's a good sign.
He possesses all the height, weight, speed, length, and all those things that you're looking for. I mean, he's another kid that's got to show he's got the mental fortitude to go out there and just kind of impose his will on his opponent. And if he can do that, I think this guy's the limit. If he, you're noticing a lot of these guys, we're having a conversation about, are they tough enough? And if he's tough enough, I think he's going to be a big time football player. If he's not, then I think you see him kind of sink to the back.
That's right. Cream rise to the top, brother, as always. And it will happen this year. It will happen. The cream will rise to the top. Like I said, it's just we don't know.
We're going to see all these guys. All these guys are going to play. I mean,
everybody's going to get their shot. That's for sure. I agree 100%. Safeties, the bane of Adams' existence from last year. We move on to the Buck safety and another kid, that Travis J. A lot of people's favorite recruit coming out of that class. Just a plus athlete. Extremely impressive. Inconsistent last year with the playing time. Played beneath his ability, in my opinion. I do think, however, this is a kid that could be a candidate for most improved from 2020 to 2021, because, man, the tools are there. And if he puts it all together, this is a guy that can help you all over the defense. Safety, corner, you name it, dude.
And we've seen them.
Oh, my God, see, it's right there. It's just on the cusp.
Yeah. I mean, he was hurt. So he got hurt last year. I mean, so it's unfair to judge him completely, because he was hurt for a good part of the year, in and out of the lineup. I mean, you see the tools there. I mean, just a physical freak. He's been playing a lot of corner. He played corner, obviously, his first year on the field in the Willie Taggart regime. And then they bounced him back to safety last year. I think he can do anything you want. I think he can play the stud. You probably could put him inside at linebacker, and he'd be special. He's just a guy that's got to know where he's going. If he knows where he's going, he's going to do great things.
Speaking of guy, go ahead, because I had a good transition to Brendan Gant, but I'm going to let you go.
Yeah. I think I'm slightly less high on Travis J than I feel like everybody else seems to be.
Oh, controversial. Why is that?
I just don't think that he is a true anything, if that makes sense.
Like a tweener everywhere in the secondary, a little bit.
And
Jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah, that's kind of the feeling I get every time I watch him. It's like, yeah, he's athletic and he makes these plays, but for a defense where we're at now, it's going to be nice to have someone you can move around and kind of plug and play, but I don't really trust him full-time at corner. I think his most natural position would probably be that Buck safety. Or even maybe gaining 10 pounds and putting him at stud. But I don't know. I haven't seen where he's going to fit and be the total stud that we know he can be athletically, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting. Okay. Something to keep an eye on, I think. Okay, so I'm going to pretend that last thing didn't just happen. Speaking of a guy who knows where he's going, but sometimes misses his target, Brendan Gant. My God, dude, this kid is a scud missile, and he is going 1,000,000 miles an hour in one direction. There will be no deviation from that line of attack, and he'll either kill someone or he will miss spectacularly. I love Brendan Gant. I'd like to see him, the lateral awareness get a little bit up, but
To be
That's not
fair
a
with
guy-
him, DJ Williams has never fallen backwards in his life.
No, yeah.
So this is like an unstoppable force meeting a human being.
Yeah, no, that's a hit stick for against the DJ Williams. But I love Brendan Gant because this is a kid you don't got to question toughness and physicality. I want him to put it together. I think he can.
Yeah.
What about you guys?
Yeah, most famously known for decapitating the Duke quarterback last year, and then turning around and completely whiffing on a screen pass and not tackling a guy. So
If that doesn't describe Brendan Gant, I don't know what does.
That's him to a T. I think he's a kid who's better suited to play linebacker, but probably can't put that weight on.
I don't. If you could put that weight on him.
I'm not so sure that he is a middle of the field safety that you're looking to do a lot of damage back there. But at that buck safety, having him come down in the box, blitz, to do that kind of stuff, I think he's a gem. But again, you've got to be able to play deep at the safety positions, and that's a to be determined with him.
Yeah, but man, there's gonna be some highlights.
He will
either
hurt
negative or positive. He is a highlight reel, and he's
good for a potential targeting penalty once a game.
Yeah,
he's a personal.
Most likely.
Yeah,
he's a personal favorite of mine.
I love it.
I agree. I like his game.
If you can get a buck safety that's consistent and just use Brendan Gant like for special purposes, like if you really want to come
he's
on
our
a blitz,
goon. We need to have an enforcer. We need to have a hockey goon.
Yeah, just
Brendan Gant, the hockey goon for next year. Sidney Williams, this is a younger player that I think impressed in more snaps than a lot of people expected. Good athlete. There hasn't been a whole ton of tape on him. I don't have too much to add other than so far everything surrounding him has been more positive than you would expect based on his recruiting stature.
Yeah. I mean, he was a corner coming out of high school. They've transitioned back to safety. I think this fall's been a little bit rough for him. I think they've been challenging him. He's got to kind of answer that bell. Going to be down the depth chart just because of the number of bodies there. But I do think he's a talented kid that if he sticks with it, kind of pushes through what's going on right now in his fall, does have a bright future and is a potential starter down the line. And then another guy that we don't have listed here, who we talked about earlier, who has been making waves, is Cheyene Brown. It seems like they really like him at this buck safety. So
really interesting.
Probably a young man that we're going to see at some point this year.
Okay, good. And that's a kid who has been getting a lot of positive camp reviews. So like you said, young, old, scud missile, athletic specimen. It doesn't matter. They're gonna try everybody out until they get the combination that they like.
Yep.
Let's move on to the last position of the field. This is the free safety, the center fielder, and that first name up at the top. A couple of these names might actually surprise people. Akeem Dent, the 5-star. Was he a 5-star? He was either high 4 or 5-star prospect. So the 5-star cornerback prospect, a kid whose career so far at Florida State has been littered with injuries and inconsistencies and some ball handling issues. It really has been a really mixed bag for a kid that is so talented. Do we think that this position switch over to safety is going to be the cure-all that kind of like unlocks the potential that Akeem Dent really has in there? Because the kid, he can be pretty special, but we haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I mean, as a true freshman, I mean, he probably should have had 6 or 7 picks.
He's right.
So I mean, that is what it is. But as a split field safety, I mean, he played pretty well, fit in the box really well. Had another. We'll talk about the highlight from the scrimmage. Had a big time hit that forced a fumble in the Saturday scrimmage that Mike Norvell kind of described. I think this is a really good position for him. He broke his ankle or whatever it was last year in the spring or at some point. It seemed to just lock his movement skills up a little bit out there at corner. I think that putting him back there at that safety position, letting him roll down in the box, letting him roll deep half, deep middle is better fit for him. We'll see where he's at on the depth chart. Again, we put these kind of names as placeholders where we kind of think there might be.
We don't know
in this big picture of things.
We're not allowed to say even if we did.
We're not allowed to say even if we did.
You.
Yeah, so we're going to see. I think he's a guy that could surprise some people this year.
I agree. and this is a position that's of extreme importance that you've got some question marks, but if it goes good, it can really go good. And talking about that, Renardo Green, this is a kid that I think people were surprised at just how integral he was to the success of this defense. Because when he went down, the defense kind of hit the nosedive a little bit. This is a really solid player, Renardo Green. I like him a lot. What about you guys?
Yeah, I'm curious to see how the role of the free safety transitions this year with you having a more coverage-based player at the stud position. Last year, they asked this guy to play so much coverage on the slot. They were playing man. They were playing combo coverages with the corner out there. That Kev's done some videos on some of that stuff that are really cool. So I'm curious to see how this position transitions this year with having a coverage guy at that stud position. Renardo was really integral to what they wanted to do because he was a corner that they transitioned back to the free safety. You could rely on him being able to cover some of these guys down the field. When he went out, you really lost that. He's bouncing back from turf toe. See how healthy he is. Has been active in the fall here. He's a player. Again, he could be right up there at the top. He could be taking that starting spot again. I mean, he does everything you want to do. He can get off the hash and play in the middle of the field, play half the field in deep coverage, can come down and tackle in the alley. He's exciting. There's a lot of bodies here that are really good.
Last but not least, the Arkansas transfer, Jacquez Mcclellan. Pat. Oh, nice. Okay. I like that. Is that his nickname, Pat?
Yeah, apparently, according to Adam Fuller.
Oh, that's cool.
I listen to everything that guy's got to say.
Oh, yeah. I bet. All right. The Pac-Man himself, Jacquez McClellan. This was the Arkansas defensive back transfer. I think a lot of people had him penciled in at cornerback. Looks like they've transitioned him over to safety. This is a kid, once again, there's going to be so many people out there. This kid's going to get his snaps. I feel like the camp reports have been pretty positive, though.
Yeah. Yep. So, yeah. He's been a consistent performer. Another kid who can cover back at that free safety position and get off the hash. They got a lot of guys back there who I think can be really good, and we're going to see how they make it all fit.
That's the name of the game. Interchangeability. Who are going to be the guys? Everybody's going to get an opportunity. We're going to platoon this. So you're going to throw numbers at this problem of not being able to cover anybody. And the best 4 or 5 are going to stick at the top.
Maybe even 6.
Maybe even 6. Only time will tell. Well, it's time for us to tell. Do we think that this group is going to be a strength, a contributor, or a potential liability? Kevin, I'm going to let you go first.
Oh.
I'm going strength. This is the one. This is the group I'm most excited about.
Oh, now I got to argue.
No, you didn't. Why?
This is why I said contributor for the defensive line, so I can say strength.
Yep,
for
you
the
had
secondary.
one in your back pocket. Yeah,
right. I had to have one contributor, one strength, and one weakness. So this was I was holding back. This is my strength. I honestly think a lot of the problems with the secondary last year, we can give crap to the boundary corner or to the to whoever you want to give it to. I think that they were put in a bad position because there was no pass rush and there was no underneath help from the linebackers. And I think that you had the bodies last year minus 1 or 2 really key pieces, and you've added like 4 key pieces. Every one of these positions we've gone through, we're 3 people deep of people that could potentially come in and give solid contributing minutes. And let me tell you what, if I've got 3 boundary corners I can rotate and feel comfortable with all 3, that means that I have a fresh guy out there almost every snap. And one guy's fresh snap, like a decent player's fresh snap, is almost as good as a great player being tired. So just being able to rotate as much as we can, I'm excited about it.
Fatigue does make cowards of everybody. Famous combat sports quote. I agree with it 100%. Adam, more disagreement here? You and Kevin? You guys have been kind of clashing at the end of these videos a little bit. What do we say here?
I think it's a strength. I want to clash, but I do think it's a strength. I think you've got a lot of depth back there. I think you're going to be able to do a lot of things schematically. Solidifying that stud role was vital to this defense. Getting a guy like Jamie Robinson in there, or a Kevin Knowles, or a Travis Jay, somebody who you can plug in there and you can take some of the demands off of that Mike linebacker in coverage, or that free safety coming down in coverage, is really just important for this defense, in my opinion. So I think solidifying that stud role makes the whole group better. But I also think you've got a lot of guys that, if they've bought in, and we'll use that word if and caveat that word if there, if they've bought in and are taken to that coaching and it's coordinated well, I think it's going to look pretty good.
I disagree with both of you morons, because I think they're just going to be a contributor. And let me tell you why. There are a lot. I've got to see it with this group, because I get name struck by these names, the Akeem Dents, the Travis Jays, the this guy, that guy, because the potential and how highly they were recruited is still fresh in my mind. You're losing an Asante Samuel Jr. You're losing a guy who's going to be a good NFL cornerback for a long time off a pass defense that was absolutely atrocious. And you're losing that guy and replacing him with a bunch of young, promising guys. So they're definitely going to be better than next year. And a lot of it is kind of the functionality that you guys were talking about. Better pass rush, better help from the stud, better help from the linebackers. I agree. It's going to take a lot of pressure off them. And they do have a lot of guys with potential. To me, the variability of it is what's taking it from calling me a strength. However, going from what they were last year to a contributing group, I think is a massive improvement. They were legitimately possibly the worst secondary in the ACC, which is absolutely psychotic last year when they had Asante Samuel Jr. They're not going to be that this year. I think they could be top third, maybe middle of the pack. And with the potential, however, this is one of those position groups, in my opinion, where the ceiling is sky high. They have the potential to just make me look like a big old dumb idiot, which wouldn't be too different from how I normally sound. So, guys, that's it. That was the last of our position preview series. We are ready for some football. I know you are ready for some football. Subscribe to the X's and Knowles YouTube channel, because when that football comes out, we're the only ones that diagnose what actually happened. And I know you find that valuable. Go to the Patreon, give Kevin some money, and also buy his merch, because it is the absolute fire flames. I'm Trey Rowland for Kevin and Adam. I love you guys. I am so ready for football. Keep chopping.